Again, thanks everybody. We'll let people come in as they can. We have a lot of material to cover today, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. To introduce to you guys, those of you who have not seen it, the 2022 R2 Acumatica Cloud ERP, and we're super excited about some of the functionality. And with that, most of you have met Nathan before. Nathan, the floor is all yours. I'm going to take the video out to maximize the bandwidth for Nathan. So I will hand the floor over to Nathan.
Thank you.
Go for it.
Thank you, Patricia. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
I'm just going to assume that's a yes. Some of you know me. We've had a chance to work together before. Some of you may not yet, but it's nice to meet you if that's the case. And I'm really excited to welcome you to our presentation today. There are a ton of new features in Acumatica 22 R2, and I just can't wait to show you some of these. We're going to go through not everything, but some of the key things that we think our clients and others might make use of. We're going to review everything at a kind of high level, but we're going to talk about some of the great things and hopefully have some time at the end to hear about what you liked and what you might look forward to seeing. So some of those key features you'll see here on the screen. A lot of this, the new changes, are based on feedback from you and the community. If you haven't yet, join the community. It's free, and you can take part in the discussions and hear about all the new ideas and vote for them and really make an influence on how Acumatica is going to grow and change in the future. Acumatica has been really great at listening to and addressing the concerns of clients and partners like ourselves. So some of the themes you see here, that's all over the community. It's part of the culture. It's really our mission to give you the tools to make smart business decisions. So
Nathan, are you sharing your screen? Because I'm not seeing anything.
I thought I was, but let's double check that. How about now?
Nope. Yep.
Thank you. Sorry for that, technical difficulties. So welcome again. These are those features that we just discussed, and in a little more detail, some of the themes here. So we're going to cover a lot of this. Like I said, we might not have time for everything. There is a ton. So if you see anything here that you want to hear more about, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to discuss this with you. A lot more details in the full release notes are available, and we'll be happy to go through it with you or point you to those. If you want to take a test drive, kick the tires, look under the hood, reach out to us. We'll be happy to arrange a reconnaissance lap. You can go in there and see how the weather looks in the new version. So yeah, again, a lot of things. We're going to start with some of the platform usability features. And these are going to be all over the system. And regardless of a user role, they're going to be available to improve your experience. Acumatica, again, won a lot of awards to date and continues to win awards for the user experience in the software and the usability. One of those things are tooltips. So any ERP system, as extensive as they are, can be overwhelming. You need a lot of information about what you see on the screen. Sometimes you want to dig into the help. Now, as part of a major platform overhaul underpinnings, Acumatica is working on speed, usability, reliability, responsiveness, and performance. So now we can hover over things and get those tooltips like you've seen elsewhere. Makes the help even closer. If you need a description or something, you can just hover now over elements on the screen. It used to be that you'd have to click into the help menu and then scroll down, find the form reference. That'll open up the next page. You can search on that page. You do that a lot, and that makes things faster. Find the thing you're looking for. But now we can go to the user profile and configure this at the user level if you want. We can hover to show. If you want to continue to click, we can do that too. A lot like the inspect element tool that we're used to. You can control alt click or use your customization menu with proper role and dig into some of these fields, bringing the DAX schema even closer, now even less than a click. Another one of the great features in Acumatica for usability, we've gotten a lot of great feedback on that, is side panels. A lot of users may not be aware that this feature even exists yet because it's rather new, but Acumatica has done a lot of work to build out the predefined side panels to give us solutions for a lot of these challenges. We need information. Sometimes we need to look at documents and lists at the same time. Sometimes we need to look at lists and their related documents at the same time. We can make quick changes on those screens. Now we don't need to go to too many screens to do that. We can have more information on one screen relative to what we're doing. So now predefined, we have extra side panels in their sales orders module and the purchase orders module, also available in the inventory module. A lot of users didn't know that we could put lists, side panels on document screens. So for example, if we're looking at, we have a purchase orders view here, we can also look at our preferred vendor items or jump to the vendor details quickly right from purchase order while we're working it. Also on many of the primary lists that you're used to seeing in Acumatica, here's our sales orders list where you'd go to see all your sales orders. We've included 6 new side panels right on that primary list screen, including receivables. This one's like a dashboard style. You can actually pin dashboards onto lists like this. So as I scroll down and select orders, I can see information about those related orders and their customers right on the list screen. You can see overdue balances, credit limits, things like that. So we can actually access lists while we're looking at a document. So here I'm entering a sales order. If I wanted to know more about my customer, I can click into the customer details side panel, which is now included, or review other related invoices for that customer right from a sales order entry screen. Also on shipments list, we can access the shipment confirmation directly, print or send it right from the list view. Don't need to open it, saving clicks there. And on the invoices list, we can access and update customer details, see the details of the invoice, any related sales orders to that invoice. We can print and send from here too, if that's not already happening automatically in an automation in the background. And then we can also view the receivables dash here too. So some of those data entry screens where side panels are now included by default. We've got on the stock items screen, we can view the item sales prices, vendor prices, inventory summary inquiry, accessible right from within the item. Also, the inventory allocation details. If you're looking at an item and you want to see what's tying it up, if it's allocated to an order, you need to reallocate, something changed. We can access that straight from the stock item screen. Look at history of transactions and even review the new dead stock report that was added in 21R1. This is great for analyzing inventory on the shelf, but we've got some new features that aid in that as well. Also on stock items screen, we can view our item sales prices and vendor prices, history of that non-stock item. We can also now specify a custom title for those side panels. So if we're adding those to our lists, we can make them more relevant and not just use the default out of the system. If we leave it blank, it'll take the title of the screen, or we can specify a custom one now. We've got side panels in CRM now too. Quick starting points for more dashboards, gives you a great idea for what you can do with side panels. We can review marketing campaigns, the performance of our marketing campaigns. We can view the lists and even have new features for dynamically managing those lists. And again, available right out of the box. You won't need to necessarily reach out to us partners to implement those. They'll be right there in the new version. Side panels in manufacturing too. Is this a common theme? Yeah. So we've got lists here. You can see how many of the manufacturing lists of records that we've added side panels to, and some of the side panels that are available there. Again, great examples, quick starting points for your business needs, and we can help you modify and customize those. Other enhancements in our inventory and order management. We've added a lot of new dashboards straight out of the box. So used to be that we would need to customize these or build them from scratch. Now we've got a lot of examples, a lot more examples based on distribution roles right out of the box. So included in 2022 R2, we now have the sales manager. Gives us a bird's eye view of profitability trends. We can visualize sales data, call out top sold items, review the top salespeople and customers and anybody that needs attention. We've got the purchasing manager, including suggested orders, items to order, late receipts, POs that are open or unapproved. All of that pops up right there for you. We've got the warehouse manager dashboard, gives us our fill rate and on-time shipping, as well as warehouse and picking productivity. We've got the shipping clerk and receiving clerk dashboards, which gives great visibility to users filling those roles. Some of the benefits of having these dashboards, you can be alerted of to-dos, things that need attention, stay on top of your performance, get all that information boiled down to an easily digestible view, all in one place. And again, these out-of-the-box ones are just a great starting place for those ideas that can definitely improve your business processes. Also included in 22 R2 is a new inventory turnover KPI, further improving on those dead stock reports that we had. But this one actually adds functionality. So for those who don't know, inventory turnover is the ratio of how many times you've bought or sold inventory, sold or used it, and replaced it during a given period of time. So these things are always included in KPIs for inventory management and procurement roles. Helps businesses make better decisions on pricing, production, marketing, purchasing, and managing the life cycle of those inventory items. An inventory turnover KPI with a fast ratio typically means strong sales, generally good, but it can also mean that we don't have sufficient inventory to fulfill those. How many times are we turning over? We may need to stock more. Slow ratio can indicate low performance, maybe items that are falling out of favor. They may be taking valuable space. You want to change the way you manage those items and get them moving. So in the new turnover feature, this is more than just a generic inquiry. We've built in functionality to define and run calculations for periods in history, and we'll store those values and then be able to review them in inquiries and widgets on our dashboards. So when it's boiled down, everything that we're talking about here is your cost of goods sold divided by your average inventory. And this always includes sales, right? But it can optionally include or exclude production orders, assemblies, adjustments and transfers, if we want to consider those in our KPI as well. So what do we do with that? How can we use that information to better improve the lifecycle management of our items? Well, one of those improvements in the new version is the ability, the ability to convert stock items to non-stock items and vice versa. We didn't used to be able to do that, but it could be an important and beneficial improvement. Why is it important to be able to flex the item type? Well, sometimes we don't know if the product's going to sell. We want to add a product into our line, but we don't want to necessarily take the risk on stocking that item. We can take the time to develop a marketing and sales strategy on that. We can phase out old products in favor of new ones. The turnover is a great determining factor for when that might be applicable, timing. So we needed to archive a stock item and replace it with a non-stock item. And that was cumbersome and difficult for reporting. Our customer service representatives need to remember the new item name, but customers may refer to it by the old one. So now we can actually manage that much more effectively. We can use the ellipsis menu to, you can see here, we can convert those items now from stock to non-stock or vice versa. The system, if converting to a non-stock item, will run validation logic to make sure that there's no inventory on hand or open orders affecting that item before we convert it to non-stock, but we will still be able to keep the history for the full life cycle of that item to get those valuable insights for sales. Other distribution improvements. Now we can copy header notes and attachments. Sorry, I'm moving a little fast here, but again, so much to cover. Really want to be able to talk about all of these things. So those header notes and attachments didn't used to automatically copy between our sales orders and related entities, shipments and invoices. But now we can copy those notes and attachments that are entered at the sales order time, which often are needed at the invoice time, right? So without a customization, we can now, by order type, we can configure our sales order types to copy automatically or not. No more manual copying of notes and attachments. We can now print labels in Device Hub directly. So it used to be users on the desktop would have to download the label, the ZPL file, and get that to print on their label printer. But now we can actually connect a label printer directly to the centralized network, and we can access that from within Acumatica without installing printer drivers. We can use Device Hub for labels too now. We've made some improvements to lot and serialized inventory visibility. We've added some fields on the inventory summary. And also in those side panels where you'll find that inventory summary, you can now search for lots and serial numbers if those apply. And we can have the option to view those inquiries, including lot and serial information details or not. We can look at particular locations, view inventory across warehouses, see what's on carts, things like that. Helps us manage that serialized inventory much better. Some other improvements in the distribution sections of the software. We can now, we made some major improvements to WMS. We can use our scanners to receive and put away serialized items. Now we don't necessarily need to enter those one by one. We can use a numbering sequence, or we can actually scan lot and serial numbers that are provided by our suppliers at time of receipt. Works in receiving and in transfers. And if you want to speed that up, we can still use default lot and serial numbers for those transfers. So imagine the time you can save moving hundreds of serialized items. It's pretty cool. Improvements to the field service section of things. We've made 4 new enhancements. Helps our technicians in the field entering data. We've got expense recognition now right in our appointments from the mobile device as well. We've changed how unit costs can be managed across those documents and how that affects our profit margin and profitability. We've made some improvements to how totals are displayed on those documents. And for clients using our WorkWave integration, we can now consider skills as well when planning routes using WorkWave. So if you're using the image recognition for expense receipts, we can now make use of that awesome functionality directly within appointments from the mobile device. So oftentimes technicians and installers can incur expenses. They need to go out, stop at a supply depot, get some parts for their installation. You don't necessarily know the cost of those parts when you're entering the appointment or the service order. But now the technicians on the road can use the mobile device to capture or add a receipt to the appointment document using OCR and artificial intelligence. The system can detect automatically the description, the date, the amount, and pre-fills that data right into the expense receipt. Saves time, avoids errors, and duplicated data. Very handy feature. We've added unit costs in the service documents and functionality for updating those costs when different events happen in the system. So it used to be that we could only add the unit costs at the time of the appointment. Those unit costs wouldn't necessarily carry over after the initial creation of the PO. If we receive the PO at a different cost or enter a bill, those costs don't necessarily update your service documents, but now they can. So the unit costs will update when a purchase order status is set to open. So once we've released that to our vendor, we can also alternately update again when the AP bill is received for that corresponding PO. The system will automatically update the service documents accordingly, which is really important for profitability analysis. You can't have zero cost items and still consider that profitable. In addition to item costs, we've also included a new profit margin calculation in service documents. So now we can factor other costs and not just the cost of items. We don't need to, no more exporting these things to Excel to add in those extra costs and factor the profitability. Now we can display both the profit markup as well as the margin on the profitability tab. We've also updated headers and totals on those service documents and reorganized and relabeled some of those things on forms as well. So we can do our profit analysis based on our costs and billing. So here's a view of those totals on the document screen, easier to read. Got your profit ratios down here now. You can also view that on the mobile device. Some huge improvements in retail commerce and e-commerce side of things. So here are just some of the new features. One of those great things we've added is the ability to accommodate multiple guest accounts. So larger merchants doing high volume, working with Shopify, BigCommerce, and Amazon native connectors are all supported out of the box for this. We previously only had one guest customer. So for businesses doing a high volume of transactions, you could see how that might be hard to manage and could even introduce some performance challenges. So to avoid those, we've now introduced a new numbering sequence for guest accounts for your online stores. That way we can set up a custom guest accounts for each one and better organize those e-commerce orders. We've introduced bi-directional sync for orders up to Shopify. So those customers you have that are shopping in more than one channel, they buy online, they also buy in your store. They can see all of their Acumatica orders in one place now. This is configurable by order type. So those orders that you enter manually into the ERP can now be pushed up to Shopify, and the customers can view those and the status of those in their portal. Great improvement for universal visibility. Another very highly asked for feature is the ability to attach payments to an invoice even after it's been processed and closed. This new feature is available in Shopify and BigCommerce as well. So in some cases, we may not get the payment right away, and it may not connect correctly. Maybe there was a sync error or some bad configuration, a mismapped field. Maybe we're collecting the payments outside of our ERP system, and we need to attach those as well. So even after the order has been shipped and invoiced, in order to do this automatically, the connector needs logic for attaching the payment to the order, and we've built that in now. So when payments come in after, we have that. Some other enhancements include enhanced descriptions in our sync logs. So we can get email addresses and order numbers now in more places to help reduce the amount of clicks it takes to locate those orders when we need to address a customer's issue or a billing issue. Customers that are using our AcuPOS system have new receipt formats. We can shorten those and save some paper, and some other special order logic as well for those AcuPOS users. If you want to know more about that, reach out to us and we'll be happy to go through the details. So let's move into manufacturing. Some really awesome improvements here for functionality. Again, a lot of this is coming from you guys as users. The feedback that you give us in the community really helps to move the product forward in ways that are useful. We can now control quantities on operations. We can allow, warn, or not allow overproduction, it used to be called, but we can now produce more at individual operations instead of just at the last operation. We used to be able to control overproduction based on the produced units, final assembly units, but now we can actually allow overproduction on operations or for sub-assemblies as well. We've introduced a new preference, and this is configurable by order type. If the order type is a regular or a disassembly order, we can now control or disallow overproduction based over completing operations, and not just the complete production order. In addition to controlling quantities and allowing us to overproduce those parts, we can now better manage our products in the engineering workbench. New engineering workbench features in Acumatica 22 R2. Before, we needed to go to multiple screens to manage multi-level BOMs, and we were able to view things on the visual BOM. If you guys are familiar with that, great report and awesome screen, but this is better and bigger and better. Now on one screen, we can view, modify, and create new bills of materials, multi-level bills of materials, to reduce time in managing those items and simplifying changes simplifying the process when it comes to making changes to those items. Look a little closer at the engineering workbench. You can see it's divided into three main portions. We're looking at the summary area here, where you can select an existing assembly or create one. And all of the operations for the sub-assemblies will be listed down below. If we want to make changes, like before, we can place the bill of materials on hold. If we select a node in the tree view, we can view all the operations and materials here on the right pane and make any changes as necessary. The More menu is going to give us many of the same commands that we're used to finding on the bill of materials form and some others. If your BOM is several levels deep, we can now use a search and narrow down the results on the fly. So as we're working in things, making changes to those nested units becomes a lot easier, faster. So by using this new feature, workbench engineers can view, modify, create with multiple levels, bills of materials, and reduce the amount of time it takes to manage those complicated items. Also in manufacturing, we've added the ability to clock in and out of multiple production orders simultaneously. So for those manufacturing businesses, oftentimes a work center will be allowed or even required to work on multiple orders at the same time and batch those. But before, we were only able to clock into one at a time, and managing the labor across those multiple production orders was cumbersome. But now we can actually set up at the work center level whether we want to allow or disallow clocking into multiple production orders at the same time. We can, with a new multiple production clock entry screen, processing screen, our users, you can see here I'm logged in as Joseph Becker, we can select multiple operations and clock in to multiple operations at one time. You can see now that I've clocked into 2 operations there. We have 2 active now. If we move to the clock entries tab, we can see both are active at the same time, but I can select one of those operations, enter my quantities there, and clock out of one, but still stay clocked into the other. As I complete the operations, they'll get closed out individually, and I can continue working on any other operations that I was clocked into. Managers can now approve multiple clock entries, review those, and process them all in one place as we're used to. So using multiple production clock entry screen, our shop floor personnel can clock into multiple orders. The system automatically calculates the time spent on each operation. No more manually calculating and splitting time. We can enter the time that was worked on each production order. Some other enhancements in manufacturing. We've extended multi-base currency further into the manufacturing, and this is managed release, but making huge improvements there. We can make use of restrictions in customers and vendors also in the manufacturing module, and much improved WMS functionality for contemplating transfer orders in our supply warehouses. When a supply warehouse needed to requisition a transfer based on MRP, sometimes that would introduce a delay, and now the system has logic for calculating those lead times and doing that all in MRP at once. We can now also, when it comes to shipping, create box dimensions on the fly. It used to be that Acumatica, we would have to predefine our boxes, but now we can enter them on the fly, meaning we can reuse boxes. Oftentimes retailers will upcycle and recycle those boxes, cut them down to make custom ones, make them tighter fits. We have clients out there using custom size box making machines. So now we can enter those DIMs right on the fly on the shipment screen, also on the pick, pack, and ship screen, or when shopping for rates, we can specify custom dimensions for our boxes. So how many slides does it take to get to the core of an Acumatica release? Looks like about 90. So some huge improvements in core financials in Acumatica. We've now introduced bank feeds in core. We can now manage this in 2 ways, using the traditional bank import, where you would download files from your bank website and then import them, matching transactions using the logic in Acumatica and manually correcting anything. But now we've automated bank feeds through an intermediary. We can connect directly to your bank and automate the process of importing and even schedule those transactions to come in using secure tokens. And that supports all popular banks now. Others are being added all the time and can still be supported through bank imports. Some improvements to our 1099 forms, the MISC and NEC forms are now improved in the system with more intuitive UIs and to accurately reflect our tax reporting changes. We've introduced logic to minimize data entry errors when entering documents with dates far in the future. Sometimes a missed click or a slip of the finger might help you lose a document. You entered an invoice, you don't know when it was, you can't find it, but now we'll be able to get a warning or not allow orders or records with dates that don't fit our master financial calendar. Improvements to tax zones. We can automatically calculate tax zones on sales orders and AR invoices based on ship to address. So great data entry efficiencies gained there. Made some improvements to dunning letters. We can now manage our dunning letters by customer class. We can include or not include open credit memos, payments, and prepayments. And even on the fly, we can modify those dunning letters if need be, removing confusing entries before we send them out to our clients. We've introduced the ability to approve journal entries, new workflows for journal entries. We can use conditions, rules, and steps as we're used to doing in other areas of the system to control and create an approval map for journal entries. We can use custom email templates now to email those approvers or the submitters if those journal entries are rejected. This supports multiple types and is available also in mobile. So that leads us to some of the other mobile usability features. Lots of enhancements in the mobile app lately if you're a user of that. If not, maybe you should be. There's a lot of great features in there. So we can now configure home screens. Users can individually manage the home screen. They can hide or show relevant areas. We can use our custom colors as we do in the web browser to differentiate branches. We can reorder those sections, and employees can now access pay stubs in the mobile app as well. The help documentation on Acumatica.com is much improved in the mobile as well. New responsive technology in the help documentation. So when you're looking for something on your phone, you can actually read it much better now. Other enhancements to our platform include a lot of improvements under the hood, a lot of the development tools available now. You can read more about that in our release notes and developer-specific documentation, doing a lot of stuff to improve speed and reliability, better caching, faster loading, always keeping Acumatica current and modern in terms of architecture and security. So again, a lot of new features in our Acumatica 22 R2 release. What did you like? Reach out to us. Let us know what you heard about today that you want to hear more about. If you want to follow up with us, we can, like I said, happy to take you on a quick tour of the new features and discuss how those might benefit your business. So thank you very much for your time. Was happy to get to share some of that new stuff with you, and I'd like to open it. And if there are any questions or feedback, if anybody wants to tell us what they liked today and what they're most looking forward to, we'd love to hear about that. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Patricia, and thank you again.
So if you guys have any questions, you can type them in the Q&A or the chat, and we'll answer them live. Otherwise, as Nathan said, you can reach out to us at any point and let us know what questions you have. So any questions? You can also raise your hand and I will unmute you if that's your preferred method. And if we don't have any questions, then we can just finish the meeting. Oh, here's the question. Hold on. Are you recommending upgrading to 2022 R2 now? Typically, I would suggest you wait a little bit until we get a couple of builds in. Software is software. It will always have bugs. Hopefully not too many, but I usually would prefer to wait until they have a couple of builds. Any other questions? Anybody else? Okay. Well, in that case, thank you so much for your time today. And we will see you next time. Talk to you soon.